Celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. In her theological reflection on the subject of pluralism for the proposed revision to Article 2 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association, Reverend Dr. Sherry Prudhomme speaks to how our Unitarian and Universalist forebears, by virtue of the theological moves that they made away from the rigid Puritanism of the 18th and 19th century in North America, grew to embrace a pluralism that those same forebearers might not have thought imaginable. We declare that there are many paths to the sacred. We hold fast to the notion that one religion does not hold the truth for all time, not even Unitarian Universalism. We maintain that a free, open, and respectful dialogue is one of the primary ways that our theological perspectives evolve and grow. She goes on to mention how not only different religious traditions, but also the inclusion of previously marginalized and silenced voices, especially people of color and those from non-Eurocentric traditions, created an expansion in understanding and appreciation of diversity in the 20th century that led to the development of progressive theology, of which Unitarian Universalism has been one of its leaders. Pluralism, at its core, is the belief that multiple perspectives, cultures, and ways of life can not only coexist peacefully, but also enrich our world. While this seems self-evident to us as Unitarian Universalists, it is a somewhat revolutionary idea for religion in general. Many religions, especially those that are creedal and doctrinal, are or have been concerned with one particular way of thinking and approaching religion, which they consider to be absolute truth. Embracing different ideas and perspectives is seen as potentially compromising the integrity of their faith, and they argue that adherence to a strict orthodoxy or set of approved beliefs is the best way to avoid contradiction and a loss of distinct religious identity. Many religions also argue that embracing pluralism can potentially lead to a breakdown in so-called traditional values and a rise in relativism, the belief that knowledge, truth, and morality exist in relation to culture, society, and historical context. Although we would want to categorize pluralism as a 20th century or modern day development, there have been seeds of it all throughout the history of religion and society. The 13th century Muslim religious scholar, poet, and philosopher Rumi frequently emphasized the underlying unity and interconnectedness of all religions and spiritual paths and the universality of the divine message. He ultimately saw various religious traditions as different paths leading to the same truth. Rumi also strongly believed that love, compassion, and inner transformation as keys to spiritual awakening, and acknowledged the existence of these in Christianity, Judaism, and Hinduism in addition to Islam. One of his most famous quotes about pluralism and diversity was, "The lamps are different, but the light is the same. It comes from beyond." During the foment of the Age of Enlightenment, when new ideas and philosophical perspectives were thrust into popular culture, a German author and philosopher by the name of Gotthold Ephraim Lessing wrote a 1779 play called Nathan the Wise that was a fervent plea for religious tolerance. Although it was not performed until 1783 in Berlin, 2 years after Lessing's death, it tells the story of Nathan, Jewish merchant, Sultan Saladin, a Muslim, and the Templar, a Christian knight, who come together to bridge their gaps between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam so that they are able to overcome their disagreements and reach a better understanding. The play was in part inspired by Lessing's friendship and correspondence with German Jewish philosopher Moses Mendelssohn, grandson to the composer Felix Mendelssohn, which sparked Lessing's interest in the popular religious debates of the time. He began to publish pamphlets espousing his beliefs on religious tolerance that were eventually banned by the authorities in Berlin, which was the inspiration for Lessing to write and publish Nathan the Wise. Unlike his pamphlets, Nathan the Wise was not only celebrated, but had a profound effect on the philosophers and academics of its day, who began to question the ways that they and society understood religion. The great Enlightenment philosopher and eternal critic, Immanuel Kant, undoubtedly inspired by having seen Nathan the Wise, wrote in his work, Religion Within the Limits of Reason Alone, that hidden beneath the accumulated myths, histories, scriptures, dogmas, and worship practices of particular religions was a pure religion of universal morality. What I think the question is for us as religious people who are embracing of pluralism is, how does pluralism change us? How are we made into better people because we embrace pluralism? What does pluralism compel us to do? For me, pluralism is not simply celebrating that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Embracing pluralism is an invitation for us to not only hear different perspectives, but to truly listen to and consider the ways that they may not be so different from our own. By doing this, we begin to look at the biases we have in our own lives, be they the ones we have been taught, exposed to, or developed along the way, and wonder why we are holding on to them so tightly and whether or not they are still serving us. This is by no means limited to just religion either. Pluralism teaches us that, in spite of our differences, there are a lot of things that we share in common. Values like love, compassion, respect, and justice. This can help foster a sense of unity and cooperation. This can also help us to find common ground and build bridges of understanding, which can help us resolve conflicts, something that is so important in a world that can seem more alienated and fractured every day. By also recognizing that different perspectives are valid, we create intentional communities where people from all walks of life and lived experiences can feel welcomed and valued. These are the ways that we create inclusive communities. The thing about inclusive communities is that once you have created a community that is inclusive, you become all too aware of the ways that the society around your inclusive community is not, which can be the catalyst for us to come together and work towards social justice and fostering equality for all, especially for those who are still marginalized. Also, inclusive communities are not ones that are simply created and continue to exist. They take real work. Embracing pluralism affords us the opportunity to not only work to affect change in the society at large, but to also look inward into ourselves and ask ourselves the difficult questions of, are we still being the inclusive community that we strive to be? And if the answer is no, or if there are areas of opportunity in which we could be doing better, what are we doing to address those so that we can continue to be the inclusive community we want to be? Pluralism helps to continually provide us the inspiration for why we are doing what it is that we are doing. And as a people who care deeply about others, sometimes the reminder of how we can better show that we care is necessary. As Harvard University religion professor and the founder and director of the Pluralism Project, Diana L. Eck states, pluralism is not just the fact of diversity, but how we respond to it. My hope for us today, as we leave here and go into the rest of our week, is that we go beyond the surface definition of pluralism and continue to truly consider what pluralism has to teach us and what it is asking of us to do. And I hope that what we discover inspires us to truly do the work of changing the culture to be one of more inclusion and less division. I hope that we can be the people that help to build a positive future rather than being an obstacle in its way. In closing, I leave you with the most salient wisdom of all, that of the words of young children. At PS1, an independent K-6 school in Santa Monica that embraces a pluralistic educational model, a randomly selected class of 5- and 6-year-olds were asked about pluralism and what it means to them. The following were some of their responses. Quote, "People have different thoughts. I think different things than other people. I can still be friends with someone who thinks different things. I think pluralism means there's lots of different kinds of people from all over the world. Pluralism means that there's nobody in the world who is exactly the same as you. I think pluralism is a really big community that is helping to build an even bigger community. I think it means that when you were born in many ways of being different. It is important because if you think different, you can come up with really good ideas. I think everything is different. Like the trees are different, all the animals are different, and all the people are different. And my personal favorite, pluralism means there's a whole bunch of different people and being different is a good thing. It's boring if you're all the same." Out of the mouths of babes. May it ever continue to be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all so much.